Good morning. Happy Monday. It is a beautiful day. We have gorgeous weather in Colorado. I'm so excited and looking forward to being out of the house majority of the day today. So come get ready with me. Today we have an appointment, a very important appointment for our youngest kiddo. He ended up having heart surgery back in October of 2024 when he was just a couple months old. We ended up getting a full diagnosis. We did some genetic testing, and today is the first kind of appointment and meeting we have with all the doctors and the team at what is called the 22Q clinic. Throughout my entire pregnancy, or majority of my last pregnancy with my youngest, I had what you would consider like a little bit of a high-risk pregnancy. I had an extreme amount of fluid in my womb, and it can at times cause a lot of health problems for mom, but also baby when they're born. I had to go to the doctor like every week, 2 times a week, or up to 3 times a week. And I would have to sit on a heart monitor for the baby 2 times a week, and then they would do an ultrasound once a week. We had a lot of eyes on myself and my baby. Well, anyway, I delivered my son via C-section because of the condition that I had while I was pregnant. They did a lot of testing on him to make sure that he was okay and he didn't have any sort of side effect. Well, they ended up finding what at the time they thought was like this tiny hole that some babies are born with in their heart that eventually closes on its own. His oxygen levels were pretty low, so he spent 24 hours in the NICU. They didn't do an echo or anything like that, and they just said, well, you know, he's fine, he's off the oxygen. We would just recommend that you follow up with your pediatrician and see if they want to issue an echo for him. So we go to his first appointment, his first newborn appointment, a couple of days after he's born, and his pediatrician, nurse practitioner, she heard his heart and she immediately sent in a referral with cardiology at our local children's hospital. It wasn't a tiny hole that our kiddo had. He had 2 holes. He had a VSD and an ASD, essentially one kind of in the bottom of his heart and one on the upper portion. So we all made the decision to go forward with the surgery to close both holes. And it was absolutely terrifying. Probably the hardest moment of our lives was being told that our newborn baby was going to receive open heart surgery before he was 4 months old. It was the hardest, darkest moment in our lives. He ended up having surgery just before he turned 3 months old. So it was so crazy that they weren't able to catch these holes inside his heart when he was constantly being monitored for weeks during my pregnancy, as well as many ultrasounds that would take a look at his heart. And it happens sometimes, certain things are not being looked at, but it was very surprising to both his cardiologist, his pediatrician, and my OBGYN that this wasn't caught before he was born. So we did some genetic testing with my son as well as my husband and I, and he ended up being diagnosed with 22q syndrome. So here in Colorado at our children's hospital, they have a 22q clinic. So all the kiddos that get diagnosed with 22q syndrome are a part of this clinic, and they all see the same specialist. And so all of these doctors, so many different doctors, they all have patients who have 22q syndrome. And so it is just meant to gather around and see how we can best support our kiddos to make sure that they grow healthy, and we're constantly checking on them because there are a lot of things that can come from having 22q syndrome. So how did we get through this horrible, dark moment in our lives? We found a lot of refuge in God, but I think the biggest thing was we were very honest with God. We brought our anger and our fear and our sadness to Him, and we just literally were like, we're upset, we're mad, we're angry, we have so many questions, we're so afraid. How are we going to navigate this? And we prayed for a miracle, and we would say, God, please heal him. We would go to every cardiology appointment just hoping that they would be like, oh my gosh, there is no hole at all. We don't know what happened. It's a miracle. He's fine. He's great. We have no idea what happened. But that wasn't the case, and it was kind of like devastating time and time again until we leaned in fully and said, okay, God, we don't know what's going to happen. We're obviously heartbroken. We just want you to help us get through this for ourselves, for our baby, and for our oldest kiddo. We prayed, we cried, we shouted in anger, and God gave us this incredible peace that in the midst of all our pain, all our fears, all our anxiety, everything, there was this incredible peace, unlike anything else. And it wasn't this piece of like, oh, everything's gonna work out in my favor and there's gonna be a miracle and everything's just gonna happen the way that I want. It was this piece of knowing I'm going through the hardest moment in my life and I will be okay. I will come out of this well. My family will come out of this well. We will be strong. We will get through it. And I just kept remembering who God was, and He really revealed in the midst of this His love on a deeper level, that He sees that we're broken. He is there with us. He sees that we're joyful. He is there celebrating with us. He was there every step of the way, in every heartache and every tear. He was there not only giving us His peace, but constantly reminding us that we weren't alone, that we were going to get through this. And sometimes we spend so much time trying to reason with God sometimes and almost negotiate things with God that we forget His promises for us. He has already made promises to be with us in every season.